training. Today we're going to talk about the My Transaction leg of the eEdge software program. My name is Jim Marks. I'm the eEdge ambassador here for the Limerick Market Center. I'm also the My Transactions ambassador for several market centers in our region. So I'm here today to kind of discuss My Transactions and show you the benefit of what this program can do for you. So before we get started, I want to give you an agenda of the items that we're going to discuss today. We're going to go through a workflow of the program so you can get an idea of the benefits of using My Transactions and how it's going to make your business more profitable and how it's going to make your life easier. So the first thing we're going to discuss of My Transactions is the agent home portion. The agent home is your dashboard on the transactions. Agent home is going to be where you're going to see your activity log, things that you've done in My Transactions. There's a calendar, a task list. It's going to essentially be the dashboard for My Transactions where all your information is going to come together. Second thing we're going to do is create a loop. A loop is a transaction, either buyer or seller. It's where everything comes together, all the forms come together in a central loop. From that loop, you're going to then invite people into it. You're going to invite your client, you're going to invite your co-op agent, and then they're in turn going to invite their client into that loop. And we're going to talk about that. As I just said, we're going to talk about how we're going to invite that co-op agent in. I'm going to show you that. We're going to look at what your client sees, what they get, and their view of the program. My Transactions is an online electronic signature program. But you're always going to get people who are going to be resistant to that type of thing. So there's going to be times where you're going to have hard copy that's going to need to be brought into that loop, and those hard copies are brought in through attachments. So the attachments are a way of bringing those in and being able to get them signed and keeping everything within that loop. And we're going to talk about attachments. And then lastly, submit for review. As we do now, we print out the papers, hand them into Amity, and then she and Michelle will review those. But from here on in, we're going to be paperless. So we're going to show you how you're going to then submit that loop for review, which will then go to the MCA, and then the MCA will be able to review it, make notes, make corrections and changes, and then you'll get notifications. So if you're missing anything or something's not quite right, you'll get notified immediately. So that's the agenda for the meeting today, and we're going to go on. My disclaimer, I don't have all the answers at this point. This program's been out 2 weeks, it's evolving, it's very sophisticated, so I don't have all the answers, but I can tell you and show you where you're going to find it. All right, so let's get started. We're going to start in eEdge. Hopefully everybody has been registered. If not, see Gina and she'll show you how to get registered. Or any of your eEdge ambassadors. So this is your opening page for your eEdge. eEdge, as you hopefully know, has a contact management, has a marketing arm of it, has the contact arm, lead capture, and now it has My Transactions. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is My Transactions. So to get to My Transactions, all you're going to do is you're going to click the Messages button. You can also go to Show Options, but we'll go to Messages, and it'll bring up this screen. This is the first screen you'll see. It'll have, you can have tasks in here. This will be tied into your calendar, so you'll have tasks, reminders, anything that's happened recently, like I just signed a document. It was actually a personal document that I signed, and it says that it was signed. Anything that's going on will be here. These are messages to keep you aware of what's going on. But first we're going to talk about agent account, the My Account button. First thing you want to do is, especially the first time you've logged in, is you want to go to the My Account section and set up your information. The information in here has been pulled from the white pages. Dotloop is the vendor for this whole My Transaction program. They've pulled information from the white pages, but they haven't pulled all the information. They haven't pulled phone numbers, so you'll see that these phone numbers are blank. Email should be in there actually, but phone numbers, make sure everything is correct because you want to check that. The other thing you want to check is notifications. Notifications are a way of obviously just telling you what's going on. If you have a document that's signed, an offer that's submitted, you're going to tell the program how it should contact you. You can do email, you can do text message, you can do both, you can do neither. We're going to show you how that works as we go through, show you how it comes. So this is the first place you want to start when you're new to My Transactions, is come into My Account. Okay. Now we're going to go to the Agent Home. Agent Home is a dashboard page. Shows you your recent loops.
Fuses or circuit breakers?
Circuit breaker, yes. These are recent loops, and loops are Joy Marie transactions. Transaction is considered a loop in My Transactions. You have, and we'll go into that in a second, but here's your recent loops. Anything within the last 30 days that you've worked on will show up here. You can go up here to buying loops or additional loops, and it'll pull in past loops that you've done. But for the last 30 days, this will show up here. You have a calendar mode here. Then eventually it's going to be able to connect to your Google Calendar, and hopefully the eEdge calendar will all be synced together at some point. And then your activity log. Activity log is everything that you've done. So if you sent out an email or received an email, uploaded a form, any action that you've taken will show up here in the activity log. So if you're ever to a point where you get confused and you're not sure you've done something, just refer to the activity log. All right, so that's your agent home or agent dashboard. There's other things. So these are some of the activities that I've done. I had a couple of forms signed this week. I submitted some forms that I sent to some clients that got signed. And it just gives me a track of everything I've done. All right, now we're going to get to the fun part, creating a transaction. You're going to see right here, start loop. That's where you're going to start. All right, get a couple of housekeeping tips. Two things about this program, and similar to other programs, if you've been on a credit card website, if you start hitting that back button, eventually you're going to get to a point where it's going to say page has expired. They have up here what they call breadcrumbs. So instead of backing up and hitting this little arrow here to go to a previous page, you should always just come here to the breadcrumb page and hit here. This way it won't expire, those pages won't expire. Secondly, if you ever find yourself in a position where you're not sure where to go, how to navigate, you always want to look down in the lower right-hand corner. That's where your navigation button will be, and I'll show you that as we go forward. So breadcrumbs and navigation always down here. So if you get lost, you can go backwards to a page, or you can come down here to move on to the next page. All right, so we're going to start a loop. As I said, loop's a transaction. And there's 4 types of loops. Most of the time you're going to use a listing loop or a buying loop. Today we're going to use a buying loop. But there's 2 others. You have what they consider a basic loop. And you have what's just a form loop. Form loop is if you just need a blank form. You're going to go to there, you can pull off a blank form, you can print it out, because you're going to have those people who want to see that hard copy, they want to handwrite their stuff, whatever it is. That's how you would get just a blank form. A basic loop is for a client that's not associated with an address at this point. So if you have a new client, you get a floor call for a new client, and you want to send that client a consumer notice, you want to assign that client to a buyer agency agreement, you're going to use a basic loop for that. Buying and listing loops are associated with a specific address. So when you click on it, it's going to ask you for an address. If you're buying, you're going to make an offer on an address, so it's important that you have that address, and obviously if you're listing a house, you'll have that address as well. So, and if you ever get lost or confused, you can click over here. They have little videos to play. These will pop up automatically when you start, and then you can turn them off, but you can always refer back to them. And it'll also give you a little explanation about little help things for there. So for today, we're going to start with a basic loop. And I'm going to make that assumption. I'm sitting, I have a floor call, comes in, I have a meaningful conversation about real estate with that client, and I want to send him a consumer notice that he can sign. So I'm going to explain what I'm going to do. I'm going to come to this loop here, and I'm going to type in his name. We're going to put that just names the loop. Then it's going to ask me for information about that client. Now, if it's a client that's been entered in the eEdge My Contacts, when you start to type here, it'll pull up names from your eEdge. It'll pull up names from your eEdge contacts. If it's a new contact, you're going to go here and just add new contact. So for this purpose, we're going to add Lucky in here as a new contact. This contact will also be shared with the eEdge side, so you'll have it both places. Actually, one place. You don't have to go to eEdge now to do it. And then you're going to need an email address. The heart and soul of my transaction is based on electronic signatures, and electronic signatures require email addresses. There's no way around it. You have to have an email address to sign electronically. The electronic signatures uses that email address, it uses the IP address, uses the date and the time and the geographic coordinates of when and where that signature was signed. So it has to have an email address. If you have a buying or listing loop and you have 2 names, you're going to add both clients and both email addresses. They cannot share an email address. They have to have their own. So we're going to put Lucky's email in here.